In this video, I'm going to let you in on one of the top cash flow killers that, if left unchecked, will devalue your property and make your cash flow go negative. Hi, I'm Christian with Landlord Advocates. We're all about providing you with the tools and resources to make sure that you make more money and you get to keep some more in your pocket. This video is a part of the full 27-point Cash Flow Killer Masterclass, and you can download it for free right now if you click the link here or here. With that, let's get started and dive right in. Let's have a look at Cash Flow Killer number 21. HOA horrors. Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar with what an HOA exactly is, it's a homeowners association. These are deed-restricted properties where the homeowner association is made up of several board members that probably live in that neighborhood by a voting process. So everyone on that board sets up a book of rules and regulations and guidelines for that community. You know, they look for things like making sure the lawn is cut a certain height, that you can't have crazy landscaping, not too many yard decorations. Some of them get really crazy, like you can't have your garage door open for more than 15 minutes. I mean, a lot of them can become really a big stickler and make everyone living there kind of have a headache. So a lot of times HOAs don't really have the greatest reputations. But what does it mean for those of you who have properties in HOAs? Well, the first thing is, if you're purchasing property in an HOA for the main reason to rent it, you have to first make sure that they allow rentals, because a lot of them don't. But if you can get past that first step, it's kind of hard to get to the next step, okay? When you're looking for a tenant, and this is for self-managed people or property management people that are looking for a property management company or are with a property management company, the bottom line is that anybody that's trying to do a tenant placement process through an HOA, you have to be prepared for the worst. And what do I mean by the worst? See, a lot of these HOA companies will have a term in their application process, or a clause that'll say, we can allow up to 4 weeks approval process. 4 weeks, okay? A good property management company should have an approval done in a day. So these HOAs kind of just take their sweet old time, and they don't really have your cash flow in the best interest. So how do you really get around that? Well, for those of you who are looking at property management companies, a lot of them don't really have great relationships with these HOAs. They kind of butt heads. They really don't get along. The property management company wants to shove a tenant in. The HOA is like, whoa, we got to make sure these are good people. So if you can find a property management company that says, no, we're not about just shoving tenants in. We really care about who's in the property. We do a full approval process first, then show that to the HOA and say, look, here's their background. We already did everything. That can help speed along the process, meaning getting a tenant in there, paying rent quicker, upping your cash flow for that year, better cap rates, okay? So also for the self-managed people, it's just not quite as easy unless you have a personal relationship with somebody that's on the board of the HOA, or maybe not necessarily personal, but maybe you know them or have done business with them in the past. See, it's all about getting those applications done quickly, because if they take up to those 4 weeks, and some are even longer, some are like 6 weeks, okay, if you have to wait that long to place a tenant, I mean, the property's just sitting there for that amount of time. It's really difficult. So there's so many, this is what we're talking about with the HOA horrors, okay? They're horror stories about property owners that just are trying to get a tenant in there, get some cash flow going, start making some money off the property, but the HOA says, no, we're going to take our sweet time. You have to find ways to get around that so you can start making your money faster. Another thing too that really kind of makes the situation like a horrible situation or a horror is those rules and regulations I mentioned before. They are huge. A lot of times they're like 20, 30, 40 pages of just raw, horrible material to read through. It's really boring stuff. But it is packed with good information that the tenants really need to be aware of. Okay, so you as a property owner, do you really want to read through them? Do you really want to understand all that stuff? Do you want to read 30 pages of rules and regulations and then tell the tenants about that stuff and make sure they're following everything? I certainly wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I hate that kind of stuff, and I'm sure you do too. So the nice thing about a property management company that knows what they're doing and cares about what they're doing is their agents will take the time to read through those rules and regulations. And a lot of times they've done so much business in that HOA area that they are known like the back of their hand. They say, okay, this is HOA number 1 and this is HOA number 2, and they already know all the rules and regulations. That way when they sit down with the tenants and they sign the lease, they say, okay, here's really out of these 30, 40 pages, here's numbers, go through this page, and here's really the things that you have to know and you have to make sure that don't happen. Because let's say it is something crazy, like the HOA doesn't allow for a garage door to be open for 15 minutes and there's a violation and they actually have a monetary penalty, okay? And some of them actually do have crazy things like that. Well, you don't want to get something in the mail because they're going to mail you and you're going to get a copy of it and they're going to say, Mr. Smith, your property, the garage door was open for more than 15 minutes. The next time it happens, there's going to be a fine and the property owner has to pay it. I mean, you just want to avoid that kind of stuff, okay? So the point is, have a way, if you're self-managed, to know the rules and regulations, make sure that the tenants understand them, give them a copy at the lease signing, or if you're with a property management company, which is kind of the better way to go this route with HOAs, make sure they have pre-established relationships with the HOA, make sure that they're willing to do their part, do what they're getting paid to do by reading through those rules and regulations and making sure that that information is actually passed on to the tenants. That was just one of the 27 cash flow killers that's waiting for you inside the full masterclass, which you can download for free by clicking the link here or there. All you have to do is simply enter your details and you'll get instant access to the complete masterclass training for free. You might be asking yourself, why is it free? And if I was in your shoes, I'd be thinking the same thing. We're planning on putting this on the market for $197 in the future, but before we do that, we need some documented success stories. So go on over, watch the full masterclass, give us your feedback if you think it's worthy. With that, we'll see you on the other side. We can't wait.